right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Great Cast. So today what I would like to talk about is I want to talk about the importance of finishing conversations. It doesn't matter what in what avenue we're talking about. It is gravely important to finish your conversation. When you think it from the standpoint of a man, many times men, we feel like you don't really care about what we have, how we feel, or what we have to say, because when we tell you how we feel, you make it about something else, or you make it about yourself, and you never finish. I never got to finish how I felt. We never even, it never got that far. When you're thinking from the standpoint of a woman, a lot of times a woman will say something to you, and you'll just blow her off, and she feels like she doesn't feel heard by you because y'all never ever finish talking about it. When you're talking about from a business standpoint, let's say you apply for a job and you have an interview, you want to finish the conversation. Email me and say to let me know whether or not I got the job. Don't just leave me hanging. And when we're talking about your kids, it is super important that you finish the conversation with your kids, because your kids aren't going to forget. Like, they'll say, hey, can we go, ride bikes or go throw snowballs or whatever it is. And you say, yeah, give me a minute. They're not going to forget that. Like, they're going to ask you, and y'all parents know, they're going to ask and 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 ask until you decide, until you let them know what's really going on. It is so important not to leave someone hanging. If you're asking my personal opinion, in my personal opinion, I think the worst thing you can do is leave someone not knowing. That is the absolute worst thing you can do. The absolute worst thing you can do. There's nothing worse that you can do than to leave someone hanging. When you're talking about, when we're talking about guys who are in the friend zone, and I don't really believe in the friend zone, let's be clear, but I'm just going to use this terminology because I know y'all understand it. But when we're talking about guys who are in the friend zone, the reason why that's so terrible is because they feel like you're leaving them hanging, because you don't directly say, no, I don't want you ever. You'll say, oh, I want a guy that has your qualities. And so he's like, okay, well, I'm a guy that has my qualities, so then you want me. And so that gray area is really, really unclear. Or, you let's look at it from the standpoint of a woman messaging a guy or trying to talk to a guy, and she says, what are we? Give her the conversation. It doesn't matter if you want to have it. Doesn't matter if you want to have it. It doesn't matter. Talk to her. Give her the conversation. Ladies, if you're with a guy like this and he don't want to give you that conversation, it's because he's not interested. Because a person who cares about you, who truly, truly cares about you, is not going to leave you not knowing. It's like it is such a terrible feeling not to know where you stand with someone, or where you stand with a job, or life is hard financially and you apply for a job and you're like, man, the interview went well, you got some really good feedback, everything's good, everything seems great, and you're like, man, my bills are getting kind of crazy, and I'm almost there, I'm gonna make it, and you're like, wait till I hear back from this job, and then you're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then the next thing you see is somebody they have already filled the position and they never even told you. So you've been hoping for this thing that might even potentially save your life, and they knew that you were waiting for it, and they didn't care about you enough to let you know that it just wasn't happening. It is such a terrible feeling. It's like cheating. In my opinion, the worst part about cheating is not the actual physical act. The physical act is, especially if you're a guy that cheated on a woman, the worst part is not the physical act. The worst part is now she can never trust you. Is because she drives herself crazy, because this is what men do when they get caught cheating, which I do not condone, because I feel like this is just weak ass behavior. But this is what men do when they get caught cheating. Or so a woman will find a piece of advice. A woman will find a piece of evidence. And that piece of evidence will be clear as day. It'll be almost clear as day. Okay, like they didn't see it with their own two eyes, but there's a piece of evidence that it's really hard to make a mistake for something else. So then she'll just directly ask you, say, hey, what does this mean? And you'll say, see, that's why you always blah, 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 and you always do this, and you always think like that, and you always do this, and then that creates doubt in her mind. And when you create that doubt in her mind, she starts feeling like she's crazy. And not only that, you're telling her that she's crazy, when the whole time she's right on the money. So if I don't condone cheating, if you get caught, admit it. Let her be a man and let her make a decision. Let her say, okay, this is what you did. Give me all the information so I can stay or I can leave or I can make an informed decision. But she then starts questioning her sanity, like, am I crazy? Or maybe I am kind of crazy, or maybe I am. And then that part just eats her alive. Once she knows, she can heal from that and she can make a decision. Hold on. Once she knows, she can heal from that and she can make a decision. But in my opinion, it's a coward who won't be real with her. Once you're caught, I get, I don't condone it. But once you're caught and you're clearly caught, it's like, okay, man up, admit what you did, and face the consequences. Let her heal from whatever. Let her decide whether or not she's ever going to trust you again. If you don't want to do that, if you can't do that, then you don't belong. I was going to say you don't belong in a relationship. First of all, if you're cheating, you probably don't belong in one anyway. But besides that, it's just the worst thing you can do is leave her not knowing. That, like I mentioned, a guy being in the friend zone because he just doesn't know. He doesn't know where he stands. It hurts his feelings because you're telling him all these great things that he has about him, and he's thinking that one day, because the way she talks to him, and it's like he just doesn't know. He thinks there's a chance. Now, admittedly, a lot of times, women, that ain't your fault. Like that is, like I said, I don't really believe in the friend zone, but if a woman makes it clear that she's not interested in you, and I ain't talking about direct with words. I mean, make it clear she's not interested in you. Leave her alone, and then don't give her all these things. And then when she takes all these things, you say, well, she's in the friend zone. And you say women don't like nice men. Like, shut up. That's stupid. But just don't leave people not knowing. I don't care what the scenario is. It is so much worse. Even if somebody in your family has a terminal illness, or they go to the doctor not knowing what's wrong with them, it's the scariest thing. And then once you learn it, it's like, okay, it's terrible, but we can all come to grips with this. I lost my stepdad to stage 4 lung cancer, and that's how it was for us. Once we learned it, we took years and years and to prepare ourselves and to prepare him and to make sure he was comfortable and make sure we were there and all that. But mentally, we had been preparing ourselves because that we all know it's stage 4 lung cancer. We know what this means. But if you have any kind of care for a person, they will not leave you hanging. And I don't care what it is. Now that doesn't mean that when you approach somebody, you need to approach them correctly. You can't just talk crazy. Somebody calls somebody calls your phone and they say, "Who is that?" That's one way. Or if, let's say somebody calls your phone and you're a guy, somebody calls your phone, who is that chick? Like she's talking to you like that, then no, you don't have to condone that. But if she's just, hey, who is that? Be honest with her. You can say yes, or you can tell her, or you can decide not to tell her, but it's just no. If he's willing to leave you not knowing, you have your answer. Now, like I said, you do have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to communicate effectively. But if you're I had that situation one time, and I wasn't used to a woman communicating to me in that way, so I was with a woman and somebody called my phone and she wasn't even looking at the phone. She was just in her own world, and out of nowhere, she's like, "Who's that?" And I kind of like, what do you mean? Like, why are you questioning me like that? But then I had to check myself. She was like, "Oh, it's nothing. It was nothing like that. I just have been in a relationship for a long time." She said she was in a relationship for a very long time, and she's like, "It's just a habit that I asked." I was like, "Okay, that's my mom," and that's all it was. But I can't emphasize, finish the conversation.